Christmas night. Minders off on the Orient Express.
Here I am, being hunted like a wild animal, and you're planning a trip to the ends of the earth.
After it goes to Venice, not out to Mongolia.
Delhi.
Daily. He is very dangerous. He's a menace. An accident looking for somewhere to happen.
And this is my boy, Terence.
Hello.
Your boy? He's your son?
Oh, no.
Or perhaps your...
Intriguing confusion for Minder and all on the Orient Express. Christmas night at 7:30 on ITV.
Now you know what people see in a Range Rover.
OK, babes, I'll do the business. Conjure me up one ever so blue Hawaii, one in between the sheets, and for moi, a low-slung mega zombie with positively all the trimmings. Cherry in a stick, little umbrellas, pineapple chunks. Know what I mean?
Packet of crisps, please. And make mine a straight-talking Midnight Lightning, black IQ brew with a smooth velvet body, cool head up top, a touch of no trimmings, no ice, no umbrella.
You what?
Pure genius.
It's the strong, dark body and the deep, inspiring taste that makes Guinness pure genius.
Grandee is a mild, cool-smoking cigar whose quality and pedigree commend it chiefly to the more discerning.
His Majesty will receive you in the maze.
No one is too grand for a grandee.
Janet, come up to the roof for a party. 8 o'clock prompt.
David.
I said 8 o'clock prompt, kid.
Oh, David.
Of all the roofs in all the world, you had to walk onto mine.
The night was made for moonlight.
Call it art. Call it style. It's the look and feel you only get from Vidal Sassoon with original salon formula shampoo, conditioners, and finishing rinse. Sassoon Clean. Sassoon Preen. Sassoon Pizzazz. Call it art. Call it style. It's the look and feel you only get from Vidal Sassoon.
MFI's biggest sale of the year. Starts Boxing Day, 10 a.m.
Remember, Captain, the British passed the port.
Ah, the Russian passed the port.
Yes.
Time now for the latest world news from ITN, presented by Pamela Armstrong.
No freedom for the Beirut hostages. Terry Waite is home empty-handed. Mrs. Thatcher tells the Falklands, we're with you even if no one else is. A Christmas present for Westland Helicopters, an order from India. And for Second Chance Swansea, the only way is up. Good evening. The Archbishop of Canterbury's special envoy, Terry Waite, back home without the Beirut hostages, says there could be significant developments in the next few days. He also said he'd made contact with the men holding one of the captives, British journalist Alec Collett. It's thought he's being held in Sidon.
Arriving in London empty-handed after his third mission to Beirut, Terry Waite spoke of setbacks in his bid to free the 4 American hostages, but he did have news of the kidnapped British journalist.
I have actually received now further information, which for the moment I will keep confidential, from those who are holding Alec Collett. Some initial contact now has been established with his captors.
He said this video, released by the kidnappers last week, held clues suggesting Alec Collett is now being held in the Palestinian refugee camp of Ain el-Hilwi in Sidon by gunmen responsible for the act that sparked Israel's invasion of Lebanon, the shooting of the Israeli ambassador to London 3 years ago. Early this morning, a heavily guarded British ambassador called at Terry Waite's Beirut hotel for news that Alec Collett's kidnappers had surfaced from the only man who could tell him more. With the press, Terry Waite was choosing his words carefully, and back in London tonight it was clear there'd been no dramatic breakthrough. But he had this message for the families of the hostages.
You know, have hope, never give up hope, and keep courageous, and all of us who are involved in this matter will be persistent, and we'll see it through until we're run into the ground.
Mrs. Thatcher has condemned Britain's allies for their lack of support over the Falkland Islands. Tonight, in a Christmas broadcast to the islanders, she promised the government would continue to protect their right to determine their own future. And she did nothing to disguise her anger over the recent United Nations vote on the Falklands' future, when not one common market country backed Britain.
I regret that the recent General Assembly, so many of our friends proved unwilling to face up to the real issues at stake. They were content to have self-determination for themselves, but not all of them content or prepared to vote for it for the peoples of the Falkland Islands. We, as you know, and some of our friends, stayed true as ever, and we always shall be true.
Police in Dorset have tonight ruled out foul play in the death of an 11-year-old boy whose body was found by a busy roadside this afternoon. The boy is believed to be Toby White, who was last seen alive on his way home to Broughton near Bridport after playing with friends. The search for the missing boy began with police and relatives combing the countryside round his home. They were joined by locals who had abandoned their Christmas preparations to help. Helicopters and military aircraft were also drafted in to search across thousands of acres of farmland. But Toby's body was found by a policeman a few feet from the edge of the busy A35, nearly 24 hours after he was last seen alive. The helicopter makers Westland have finally landed a big order from India, which makes them more attractive to the European and American groups competing in a bid to rescue the company. It's for 21 aircraft worth £65 million. The order was announced in Delhi. Westland say they've not had confirmation yet, but if it's true, they'll be delighted.
The orders for 21 W-30 helicopters, the aircraft which got the company into its current financial troubles. Westland had hoped the W-30 would fill a production gap over the next decade, but the only potential buyers were the Indians. India's new Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi got cold feet and threatened to cancel the order, giving it to France instead. The official reason was that the W-30 was wrong for the job, but the Indian government also had a political quarrel with Britain about Sikh extremists living in this country. It was a crushing blow for the troubled Westlands, which was already working on the order. The company announced 700 redundancies at its Yeovil plant and began to look for a partner. The Indians' change of mind has come too late to save those jobs, but it's brought some Christmas cheer to the workforce.
Immediate future will put people in work. Unfortunately, I think it's a little bit too late to output the redundancies, but it should secure the jobs of those people that are staying.
I think probably it's given a bit of a lift to the workforce, because they'll say, well, now we've had this, is it going to make any difference in the future? I should think it would do.
Westland's being cautious. It says it's not yet signed an agreement with the Indians. The announcement won't make any difference to the search for a partner. The battle between the Europeans and Americans over who gets control of Westland will continue.
6 more people have been killed in outbreaks of racial violence in South Africa. Police say 4 people, 1 white, 3 black, died in a riot at a gold mine west of Johannesburg. Another black was shot dead near Pretoria by a black policeman whose home was being petrol bombed, and a black councillor was burned to death in his car at Nyanga near Cape Town. Laboratory tests are being carried out to discover if a baby who's died in Manchester with traces of salmonella poisoning was infected with the same type of bacteria involved in the Farley's milk scare. At Farley's factory in Cumbria, staff will continue their inspection of the premises and machinery over Christmas to try and trace the source of the original infection. In Edinburgh, 84 hospital patients are recovering after an outbreak of salmonella poisoning caused by a Christmas dinner.
Environmental health officers from the City Council are still at Liberton Hospital conducting tests. They say all possible steps are being taken to prevent further spread of the poisoning. But the officers want to know why 2 previous recommendations that the hospital kitchens be given a thorough cleaning were apparently ignored. Twice earlier this year, they reported that cooking equipment was dirty and that general catering practices weren't up to standard. Conditions were much the same when, at the weekend, they were called in to deal with the salmonella outbreak.
I think it's fair to say that, yes, we were concerned, and we did advise the hospital of our concern, and we pointed out the need to attend to certain deficiencies in their catering arrangements. We followed this up a few months later with another visit when we repeated our concern verbally to support the written reports that we had submitted earlier.
A Cornish woman is spending Christmas on hunger strike to try to get her Russian husband out of the Soviet Union. Jill and Sasha Blonsky met when she visited Moscow for the 1980 Olympics. She returned to Britain last month, but Soviet authorities say her husband can't be allowed out for security reasons.
Jill Blonsky hasn't seen her Russian husband since 1983, although they've been married for nearly 4 years. They have a daughter, Shenya, who's 3. Their case has been taken up by the opposition leader, Neil Kinnock, but the Russians refuse an exit visa because they say Mr. Blonsky could be a security risk.
Well, he did 2 years national service in the mid-1970s, but he's been out of the army now for 8 years, and I really can't think he's a security risk.
And has Mr. Kinnock spoken directly to Mr. Gorbachev on your behalf?
I believe he did when Mr. Gorbachev was here a year ago, that he did have a conversation with him about this. But I would myself like to make an appeal to Mr. Gorbachev. He's a family man. He must understand what it's like for us to be like this, to not know when we're going to be able to live together.
Mr. Blonsky now works as a clerk in a Russian clothing shop. Another lonely Christmas seems in store. Mike Whitmarsh for ITN in Cornwall.
A dam burst in Busan in South Korea